Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating deep dive into one of literature's titans, Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude.
A classic.
Absolutely. And for many of you, I think the names that first jump out are probably José Arcadio Buendía, consumed by his scientific obsessions, or maybe the legendary Colonel Aureliano Buendía and his seemingly endless wars.
Those are the big splashy figures for sure.
Right. But our mission today is actually to shift that lens, to pull back the curtain a bit and really shine a spotlight on the extraordinary women, the women who truly shaped Macondo and, you could argue, held the destiny of the Buendía family right in their hands.
It's true, isn't it? I mean, it's fascinating how often the women in the saga, despite their just immense strength and influence, can sometimes be seen as secondary in maybe more superficial readings. But when you really dig into the sources, into the novel itself, you quickly realize they are the anchors, absolutely. The quiet visionaries, the ones who kept the family, and honestly, even Macondo itself from just completely falling apart.
So that's what we want to unpack today. Their critical roles, the surprising depth, maybe the tragic beauty sometimes, of their experiences.
Exactly. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start with the indomitable Úrsula Iguarán, the matriarch. Her presence spans almost the entire novel.
Right.
And she really stands out from the very beginning, doesn't she? As this voice of reason, of practicality, especially against her husband's more fantastical ambitions.
Oh, absolutely. What makes Ursula so crucial, I think, isn't just her common sense, but how she's almost like the family's only anchor to reality. She's constantly fighting against the magical realism that surrounds them, arguably delaying their decline for generations.
Yeah.
You see it right away. She tries to stop José Arcadio Buendía from trading their livestock for magnets. She's like, I counted on those animals, to build our home.
Practical needs versus magnets.
Exactly. And her frustration, it's almost physical when she smashes his astrolabe because his ideas, the gitano, his gypsy ideas, are like threatening the children. Or remember when she plugs your ears with beeswax? Because the noise of all those birds José Arcadio brings in is driving her mad, and she says she's desperate not to lose her sense of reality.
She's also fiercely rooted in Macondo itself, right? She refuses to abandon the settlement. That seems key.
Oh, completely key. Her connection to Macondo is just paramount. When José Arcadio Buendía wants to leave, she just declares with this sort of soft firmness, no nos iremos. Aquí nos quedamos porque aquí hemos tenido un hijo.
We will not leave. We stay here because here we've had a son.
Exactly. And then comes that incredible line, maybe one of the most famous, todavía no tenemos un muerto. Uno no es de ninguna parte mientras no tenga un muerto bajo la tierra.
Wow, we don't have a dead person yet. You don't belong anywhere until you have a dead person under the ground. That's profound.
Isn't it? It's not just, I don't want to move. It's this deep philosophy of belonging, earned through roots, through loss, through staying put. She's even willing to die there herself to make them stay. She says, si es necesario que yo me muera para que se queden aquí, me muero.
If I have to die for you to stay here, I'll die. Wow. And beyond that grounding force, Ursula also seemed to possess this unique intuition, didn't she? A really deep understanding of her children, maybe even before they understood themselves.
She does, absolutely. She's the first one to notice young Aureliano's clairvoyance. She's alarmed when he predicts the pot will fall off the stove, even though his father just dismisses it.
Right, as natural phenomena.
Yeah, but she knows. And you see her managing the household through generation after generation, setting up that successful caramel animal business.
Oh yeah, the little candy animals.
Exactly. And later the bakery. She's the one shaping the social life too, bringing in the pianola for Rebecca and Amaranta. She's always kind of managing the reality of their lives.
And it's quite striking, isn't it, that as she gets older, as her physical sight fails, her internal clarity seems to get sharper.
It's one of the most poignant parts of her character, I think. Her physical decline seems to grant her this profound lucidity. It's like she loses outer sight but gains inner vision. She completely reevaluates her understanding of her kids. She finally sees Colonel Aureliano Buendía's incapacidad para el amor, his inability to love.
Yeah.
And she realizes his wars weren't for some grand ideal, but por pura y pecaminosa soberbia, just pure sinful pride.
It's a harsh realization about your own son.
It is. But then, conversely, she looks at Amaranta, who she always thought was so hard-hearted, and sees her as la mujer más tierna que había existido jamás, the tenderest woman who ever existed.
Really? After all the pain Amaranta caused?
Yeah, she understands Amaranta's cruelty towards Pietro Crespi and Gironelda Marquez as this terrible struggle between un amor sin medidas y una cobardía invencible, like a boundless love fighting an invincible cowardice.
That's a much more compassionate view.
It is, and she even finds this late admiration for Rebecca's valentía sin frenos, her kind of reckless courage. And in her very last moments of clarity, she's questioning God, asking if people are really hechos de fierro, made of iron, para soportar tantas penas y mortificaciones, to endure so many sorrows and mortifications. It's a question about human endurance itself.
What a life arc. Okay, so from Ursula, the anchor, let's maybe turn to Pilar Tenera. She's such a fascinating presence. She seems to exist slightly outside the main family line, but she's so deeply tangled up in their fate. How does she fit in?
Pilar Tenera is like, she's the embodiment of Macondo's other kind of wisdom, maybe. More visceral, more intuitive. The Earth Mother, you know? A real contrast to the Buendia's sort of isolated intensity.
Yeah.
The book describes her as alegre, deslenguada, provocativa, joyful, sharp-tongued, provocative, and crucially, sabía leer el porvenir en la baraja. She could read the future in the cards.
Okay, so she's got this mystical side.
Right, but it's not just presented as a trick. It kind of positions her as this keeper of maybe older knowledge, a connection to fate that the Buendias themselves often stumble into blindly. She predicts José Arcadio's happiness despite his size.
And she plays a pretty unique role with the younger Buendias, especially around intimacy, right?
Oh, definitely. She's the first one to really understand young Aureliano's torment when he comes to her all confused. And she helps him through his first sexual experience with this real ternura maternal, this maternal tenderness. Later, she's the one who makes that bold promise to Aureliano that she'll basically serve remedios on a platter. It shows her almost uncanny influence.
Yeah, that's quite a line.
And her advice to Mime, much later, about love not being easily satisfied, offering her own old bed, it's just so pragmatic, non-judgmental. She maintains this magnífica vocación para el amor, this magnificent calling for love, and she never charges for her services.
Which itself is a statement in that world.
Exactly. It represents this kind of free, unburdened passion that so many of the Buendias really struggle with.
Okay, shifting gears again, let's talk about Rebecca, another really powerful female figure. Her arrival is just soaked in mystery, and she comes with some very peculiar habits.
Rebecca, yeah. She just appears, right. 11 years old, carrying that satchel with her parents' bones.
Which is unsettling enough.
Right. And the habit of eating earth and chalk, it's disturbing, but maybe it symbolizes this kind of primal connection or a deep hunger for something missing.
Could be. She starts out quiet, reclusive.
Very. But then her passionate side just erupts when José Arcadio, her adoptive brother, returns. She gets so consumed by him that she starts eating earth and chalk again. The book says her body lost its control.
Wow. That's intense.
It is. And their marriage, even though everyone considers it contra natura, against nature and illegal, it's driven by this incredibly powerful, almost visceral connection that just ignores all the rules.
But it doesn't end well.
No. After José Arcadio's violent, very mysterious death, Rebecca just withdraws completely, becomes a total recluse, seals herself off, won't see anyone. Her house literally falls apart around her, mirroring her mind detaching from reality.
And how she's found at the end.
It's such a tragic image. Dying alone, enroscada como un camarón, curled up like a shrimp, con la cabeza pelada por la tiña y el pulgar metido en la boca, head bald from ringworm, thumb in her mouth, like a retreat back to this primal, isolated state. Just heartbreaking.
It really is. Okay, so in stark contrast maybe to Rebecca's kind of raw passion, we have Amaranta.
Yeah.
She seems like a figure of equally intense but often self-destructive passion. Her story feels like one of constant longing, but also
Refusal.
a refusal to actually embrace happiness.
Amaranta is so complex, a real study in self-inflicted pain, I think. She's desperately infatuated with Pietro Crespi, the Italian piano guy.
Right, who Rebecca was initially engaged to.
Exactly. But Amaranta's solitary passion, as the book calls it, leads her to inflict this slow martyrdom on both him and herself. She deliberately sabotages Rebecca's wedding to Pietro. It's incredibly cruel.
And why? Just jealousy or something deeper?
Maybe both. Perhaps it's partly spite, but maybe it's also this inability to deal with her own feelings or maybe see someone else happy when she isn't. And then there's her self-punishment, that venda negra, the black bandage she wears on her burned hand for the rest of her life.
A constant reminder.
A physical symbol of her internal struggle, maybe penance for what she did. And she consistently rejects Colonel Gernaldo Marquez, who loves her steadfastly, even when Ursula pushes her to marry him.
Yeah, why does she reject him so fiercely?
Her explanation is just devastating. She tells him, "No me casaré con nadie." pero menos contigo. I won't marry anyone, but least of all you. And then she says, quieres tanto a Aureliano que te vas a casar conmigo porque no puedes casarte con él.
You love Aureliano so much you're marrying me because you can't marry him. Oof.
Right. It reveals these deep-seated fears she has about love, about her own heart, maybe about being second best even in someone else's affection. So her solitude becomes this chosen but agonizing path.
And she denies intimacy even later, doesn't she? With Aureliano Jose.
Yeah, that relationship is so complicated, almost taboo, and preparing her own shroud, deciding to die a virgin, refusing assistencia, a spiritual help. It's all about control, isn't it? Controlling her solitary life right up to the very end.
Such a contrast again to Remedios la Bella, Remedios the beauty. She seems to exist on a completely different plane of reality altogether.
Oh, Remedios. She's absolutely unique in the novel, described with piel de lirio, ojos verdes, lily-white skin, green eyes, possessing this exceptional purity that Ursula finds both precious and deeply unsettling.
Because it's almost inhuman.
Kind of. She's so ethereal that men literally waste away or die from loving her, but she seems completely untouched, completely innocent and detached from it all. Inconsciente del ámbito inquietante en que se movía, unaware of the disturbing atmosphere she created around her.
So is she just naive? Or is it something else?
Well, some think she's rechazada mentally slow, but Colonel Aureliano Buendía has this interesting observation. He says it's como si viniera de regreso de 20 años de guerra. Like she just returned from 20 years of war.
Meaning she's seen too much.
Yeah.
Or she's just beyond ordinary understanding.
Maybe the latter. Like she has this wisdom or detachment that's just incomprehensible to everyone else. Her bathing ritual, stark naked, unashamed, driving men mad. She's just oblivious to the effect.
And her exit from the story is probably the most famous image from the book.
Oh, absolutely. Ascending to heaven, body and soul, taking the bedsheets with her. It's pure magical realism, a vivid symbol of her complete otherworldliness. It just shatters the boundaries of reality in Macondo.
Okay, so we've had these really intense, prominent figures. Let's maybe shift focus now to someone like Santa Sofía de la Piedad. She's often almost invisible, but her silent diligence seems absolutely crucial.
Santa Sofía de la Piedad is, the epitome of that quiet strength, that sense of duty. She really is the invisible backbone of the Buendía household for a huge chunk of time.
How is she described?
As sigilosa, impenetrable, silent, impenetrable, possessing la rara virtud de no existir por completo sino en el momento oportuno, the rare virtue of only fully existing at the opportune moment.
Wow, that's quite a description.
Isn't it? She raises multiple generations of Buendías, including one of the Aurelianos, como si hubiera salido de sus entrañas, as if he came from her own womb, and she doesn't even know she's his great-grandmother.
That's incredible endurance.
Totally. She sleeps on a mat in the granary. A viper crawls over her. She doesn't complain. Her inhumana diligencia, her inhuman diligence, and tremenda capacidad de trabajo, tremendous capacity for work, literally keep the house functioning for decades after Ursula starts to decline.
So what happens to her?
Eventually, the house just becomes too overwhelmed by decay, by ants, by everything falling apart. And Santa Sofía, she just quietly packs a small bag and walks out. Just leaves.
Like a final surrender.
Exactly. A symbolic surrender to time, to destruction, that even her incredible diligence can't fight off anymore.
Okay, then there's Pietro Crespi, a very different energy again. She's all sensuality, prosperity, quite unlike the more rigid Buendía women.
Pietro Crespi, yeah. With her ojos amarillos y almendrados, yellow, almond-shaped eyes like a panther. She brings this totally different life force. She has a corazón generoso y una magnífica vocación para el amor, a generous heart and a magnificent calling for love.
And she's Aureliano II's lover, right? His concubine.
Right. And her presence somehow miraculously causes their animals to just multiply like crazy. They become incredibly wealthy because of her. It's this strange, fertile magic connected directly to her.
Which is a real departure from the usual Buendía fortunes.
Totally. And she's so pragmatic about it all. She couldn't care less that Fernanda, Aureliano II's wife, disapproves. Petra just confidently declares, a mí las reinas me hacen los mandados. Basically, queens run errands for me.
I love that. A real statement of self-worth.
It really is. And her love for Aureliano II is deep and unwavering. She tells a neighbor once, La única vela que lo hará venir está siempre encendida. The only candle that will make him come is always lit.
Wow. Devotion.
And resilience, too. During that long, terrible reign and famine, she even feeds a dying mule with her own rage, just refusing to let it die. She embodies this earthy, vital energy that's quite separate from the Buendia's internal knots.
Okay, so speaking of Fernanda del Carpio, she brings, as you mentioned, a very different kind of order, or maybe rigidity is the better word, to the Buendia chaos.
Fernanda, yeah. She represents this clash, doesn't she? The clash between the decaying outside world's aristocracy, its strict, often hypocritical Catholic traditions, and Macondo's sort of inherent magic and the Buendia's ways.
How does she try to impose that order?
Well, she arrives with her invisible doctors, remember, and this fierce determination to impose her antigua usanza, her old customs, on everyone. She's obsessed with appearances, with social standing. That drives almost everything she does.
And often causes real harm.
Immense harm. Her most tragic, most cruel intervention is definitely in the life of her daughter, Meme.
We'll get to Meme in a moment, but Fernanda's own end is quite poignant too, isn't it?
It is. In her old age, she becomes isolated, bitter, and she finds this strange solace in dressing up in her old queenly clothes, turning them into a máquina de recordar, a machine for remembering her lost grandeur. It's such a powerful symbol of her trapped life, clinging to a past that's completely gone.
A very different kind of solitude.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Mume, or Renata. Her story is just heartbreaking. A young woman whose rebellious spirit gets brutally crushed.
Meme's story really embodies that clash we were talking about with Fernanda, the clash between those oppressive traditions and, burgeoning authentic desire. She has this strict convent education, but she falls head over heels in love with Mauricio Babylonia.
The mechanic, associated with the yellow butterfly.
That's him, a humble guy. Their love feels like this potential escape, maybe. Even Pilar Ternera, her great-grandmother, who she doesn't even recognize, tries to help her, gives her practical advice, contraception.
But Fernanda finds out.
And Fernanda's reaction is just draconian. She arranges for Mauricio to be shot, leaving him paralyzed for life. Then she forces me into a convent where Meme gives birth to the last Orleano.
And Meme herself?
She's silenced. Forever. She never speaks another word. Lives out her days in a hospital somewhere in Krakow, apparently still yearning for Mauricio. Her story is just this brutal example of the old world crushing the new, and the consequences just echo through the rest of the book.
Absolutely chilling.
Okay.
Finally, we reach Amaranta Ursula. She returns to Macondo like a breath of fresh air, right? With this seemingly modern, liberated spirit. Feels like a last hope.
Amaranta Ursula definitely brings this vibrant energy back to the decaying house. She's been educated abroad in Europe. She's pragmatic. She's active. She's determined to fix the place up, clear out the cobwebs, literally and figuratively. She dismisses all the old superstitions.
So she represents a break from the past.
It seems like it. She embodies this new era, maybe, free-spirited, joyful. And for a moment, you really think maybe she can break the cycle of solitude and doom.
But it's 100 years of solitude.
Exactly. Tragically, she falls into this all-consuming, incestuous love affair with her own nephew, Aureliano.
The final Aureliano, Meme's son.
Yes. And this passion, which mirrors the family's original sin, the very fear that haunted Ursula from the beginning, leads to the birth of the very last Buendia, the child born with a pig's tail.
The curse fulfilled.
The curse fulfilled. And Amaranta Ursula herself dies shortly after childbirth from a postpartum hemorrhage. Her death essentially brings the whole cyclical story of the family and the novel to its definitive, fated conclusion.
So even her modern spirit couldn't escape it.
No. It's like the tragic irony is that even this forward-looking energy gets pulled back into the inescapable destiny of the Buendias.
What an incredible and often, heart-wrenching journey through the lives of these women. From Ursula's sort of grounding resilience right through to Amaranta Ursula's vibrant but ultimately doomed modernism. They really are the heart of the book, aren't they? The often unacknowledged engines driving it all.
They really are. And their stories, I think, they remind us so powerfully that while the men were often off launching the grand external revolutions or chasing impossible dreams, it was the women who were fighting the wars within the home, nurturing the family generation after generation, bearing the incredible burdens of the family's curses, preserving its legacy, or in the end, witnessing and suffering its complete dissolution. Their resilience, their hidden passions, their quiet wisdom, their just profound impact. That's what makes the saga truly unforgettable.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, how much of history's big narratives are actually shaped by the quiet, enduring strength of women whose stories we just don't hear as often, or maybe aren't encouraged to look for.